judging. I want to extend a special welcome to our distinguished panel of judges, Keith Foster, VC and partner at Trend Forward Capital and one of Affectiva's recent investors. Dr. Brian Reamer, research scientist at MIT, automotive thought leader, and advisor and friend to Affectiva. And Ronit Avni, founder and CEO of Localized, a digital platform aimed at helping the next generation of young people build their careers. Localized is also the platform on which EMPath 2020 is hosted, and without which I would personally totally be lost. So thank you, judges, for sharing your time and expertise with us today. The 4 teams that will present to you during this session are Census, Inside Out, EMPath Titans, and Initers, if I'm saying that correctly. You guys have to teach me how to say that correctly. So without further ado, Team Census, take it away.
Hello, everyone. We are the Census team. To start, I'd like you all to meet my good friend, Dean Geekus. When Dean was 34, he worked a stressful finance job in Boston and had to commute down I-93 every day from Windham, New Hampshire. This commute created difficulties for Dean in his daily life. At his demanding job, he wanted to be very focused, and at home, he wanted to be more relaxed with his wife. But each day on his commute, he found that being cut off and honked at in traffic really worked him up. After some of his most agonizing morning commutes, he found himself less agreeable and less productive at work. And certain traffic-filled evenings frustrated him on the drive home, such that he acted less affectionately towards his wife. He did tell me that sometimes he would combat the negative emotions he felt on the commute by playing classical music on the radio, and it really helped him calm down on the road. When I shared the story with my group, we knew that if we could build an emotionally aware system in the car to give the driver highly personalized recommendations based on their mood, we would really improve the stress-inducing part of many people's day. The chore of a daily commute is not something we need only to put up with. We believe we can actually improve our experience and enjoy these daily drives. Just like Dean, we all sometimes become emotional on the roads. In addition to adding stress into our lives, driving emotionally actually puts both us and the other drivers at risk. A naturalistic driving study found that drivers were 9.8 times more likely to crash when they were driving in a heightened emotional state, like anger or sadness. Unfortunately, almost all cars in use today do not have any systems to understand or respond to the driver's emotion in a way that could improve the driver's mood. So when thinking about our end user, we thought that people like Dean, who have longer commutes to work and see their daily commute as an additional stressor in their already overwhelming life, would really want some kind of emotionally intelligent and personalized system in their car. This is exactly what our team came together to create. To briefly introduce our team, we're made up of 2 university students, Kimia and Yusuf, and 2 high school students, myself, Wilder, and Shreya. Our wonderful mentor was Samiha, and we'd also like to thank our 2 floating mentors, Chris and Eve. Now Kimia will take over and introduce our solution.
So our proposed solution was to create a personalized content and action recommendation system based on the detected emotion of the driver in order to enhance their in-car experience and ensure their emotional well-being. So currently our system is made up of 3 main phases: the registration phase, the face ID and emotion detection phase, and finally the personalized recommendations. So beginning with the registration or onboarding phase, this is where the user gets to set up their account by setting their preferences and uploading an image of themselves to our database. Once they're registered and in the vehicle, we will run both Face ID and emotion recognition. And based on the most highly expressed detected emotions and the user ID, our system can access the database, similar to a lookup table, and provide relevant and specific content and action recommendations. In order to better understand our users and to hear their thoughts on such a system, we sent out a Google survey and we received 60 responses from a wide range of ages and driving experiences. There was around 70% interest in such a product, and we also asked them questions like which emotions they most often felt while driving, the dominant emotion being anger, irritation, and they also told us about their top recommendation interests, which were music or radio recommendations, recommendations for physical relaxation like seat adjustments, and also climate control and interior lighting adjustments. We also received some very valuable comments from the survey takers, and we discovered there was a general consensus that many people don't like being told what to do by their car. They don't want to have to be demanded to undertake certain actions, so they would benefit more from an empathetic agent and gentle suggestions. Also recommendations where there's minimal involvement of the driver as to not distract them. So to address this, we decided to incorporate the registration phase where drivers can create their personalized profiles, which will let them only receive the amount and type of recommendations they want and would be interested in. So then we began solution development. It all started with creating the emotion recognition model, where we built and trained our own convolutional neural network using TensorFlow and the popular FIR 2013 dataset. In order to detect emotions from the video input, we also integrated OpenCV to detect the faces. The second stage was to merge the Face ID component, where we used Python's face recognition library, which will compare the facial encodings of our registered users with new faces. So it'll be able to label someone as an existing user or an unknown. And finally, there was the recommendation system, which works with the user preferences and pictures stored in a data frame beforehand. Currently, the system doesn't use a machine learning engine. It works similar to a lookup table. And specifically, we used YouTube's API and JavaScript to add music recommendations. So to bring this all together, we created a simplified web application using Flask, and we also used a Python library for our voice agent. Due to limited resources and time, we weren't not able to integrate this into an actual vehicle, but we did create the simplified web application, and here's the demo.
Welcome, Youssef. My name is Census.
Welcome, Kimia. My name is Census, and I'll be your in-car support system for today. Let's have a great drive. Your most highly expressed emotion so far is anger. Playing non-copyrighted classical music.
At this moment, Census is not randomly playing classical music. Census knows what Camilla needs, so we can give it to her when she needs it. Census knows what all of us need from our profiles. Camilla needs classical music to calm her down, and I need electronic music to cheer me up, along with recommendations such as temperature, relaxation techniques, and interior lighting. A personalized recommendation system. Census.
And now Shreya is going to take over and talk about the current competitive landscape.
So we found that there were several automotive companies developing similar products, but each one is also somewhat different than what we are doing. Our competition breaks down into two main categories. Those who are developing more general monitoring systems, to analyze cognitive states like drowsiness and distractedness, recognize objects or children left behind, which includes companies like Affectiva and their occupant state technology, Guardian Optical, Iris, and Smart Eye. What sets us apart is that rather than a generalized understanding of the driver, occupants, and surroundings, our technology has a specific focus on improving the driver's emotional state through personalized recommendations from their profile. The second group includes companies who also use biometric monitoring systems and other modalities to develop personalized adjustments for added comfort during the drive, such as Hyundai Kia's Read System, Eyesight, and Sensum. What sets us apart is how our technology can be easier implemented in modern-day cars without any intrusive biometric sensors. Much of the technology from these companies requires special cars or steering wheels, and these companies work strictly with OEMs and car manufacturers, rather than making a product that can be installed in vehicles on the road today. One competitor that didn't fit into these groups was Cerence, which makes a personalized, empathetic voice agent. What sets us apart is that we focus our voice agents strictly on responding to the driver's emotions, while they take a more general approach by understanding the driver's routines and habits. For the continuation of Census, there are three main areas upon which we will improve. The first area concerns the recommendation system. In order for drivers to set up profiles, we will develop a mobile or web application for the registration phase. We will continue to use this platform for Census until we can work with automotive hardware engineers to actually integrate the system into vehicles. The actual recommendation system will be replaced with a more advanced model that could keep a log of the user adjusting, so approving or disapproving of the outputted recommendations in order to effectively bring the user back to their comfort zone. Our next focus would be on the voice agent and the emotion detection model. We want to enable speech to text to allow for conversations and rapport building between the user and the in-car empathetic agent. As for the emotion recognition model, we would replace it with a multimodal model that also takes into account the voice, words, and gestures of the user when detecting emotion. The final area focuses on Census's relationship with the vehicle. Once we integrate Census in vehicles, we will use the vehicle data and the emotion data together to predict a measure of safety and danger. For example, if a vehicle is swerving and anger is detected in the user, this presents a very dangerous situation. We could also take into account external cues, like traffic or if the user is on the phone or in a conversation, into consideration when deciding if it's an appropriate time to give recommendations as to not distract or irritate the driver. Progressing in this direction will allow us to sense a safer way to safety. Thank you for listening. We are very grateful for your time and are now ready for questions.
Thank you, Team Census. And judges, please feel free to ask questions.
Excellent presentation. This is Brian. As you look through the automotive ecosystem, did you see any manufacturers out there with concepts that are in this area?
Yes, we did. One of the specific ones that really struck out to me was Hyundai Kia's. They had a Read system, which is real-time emotion adaptive driving. And they had plans for this in 2019, but it would require a lot of specialized equipment, a specialized cabin with special like ECG sensors in the wheel, steering wheel, and a lot of specialized equipment. And there's not much info on that, so we're not sure if they continued with that plan. But it was very similar to our idea.
Ford also created a model, but they also did not continue their development.
Interesting.
Great job. Oh, Keith, please go ahead.
No, please, after you, Ronit.
So fantastic job, everybody. You may have covered this, I may have missed this, but is the camera where the mirror is? Where is the placement of the actual camera that's capturing, or the sensors that are capturing this information?
If we want to focus solely on the driver for now, I think we will actually integrate the camera into the dashboard so it focuses on the user, the driver. But if we wanted to detect the other passengers, like a larger view, a wider view, we would put it in the rear view mirror, which you can kind of see in this little picture right here.
And this may have come a little bit later, but I'm just curious, as you're factoring in sizes and body types and placement. So I think about myself. I'm a very petite human. So if it were on the dashboard, it would probably be obstructed for me. So I'm just curious about what are some of the friction points that you learned along the way in the implementation of this? So what did you look at and decide not to pursue? Why did you think that the dashboard would be the best option?
We still had yet to conduct a more thorough analysis on how the hardware would actually be implemented, because it wasn't within the scope of this 2 weeks. But like you said, we'll definitely have to adjust it so it can work for different body types, different ages of people. So that's still something we have to do.
Thanks. Keith, please.
Thank you. And thank you to the team. Great presentation. As you think about the data that you will be collecting over the longer term horizon, what are your thoughts on what you would do with the output after you've had so many drivers and so many recommendations? For example, have you considered maybe doing some partnership with the music content providers such as like a Spotify or an Apple Music? What are your thoughts with what you would do with all of this insight in the long term?
So we actually have a couple answers to your question. So in terms of the music system, so right now when we're using YouTube's API, we actually can't provide copyrighted content. So having some sort of music partnership is definitely in our horizon, because we want to be able to provide users like polished music versus just playing weird YouTubes on video. Weird videos on YouTube. And then also in terms of collecting the data, here's one of our prototypes. And so we did actually have a plan to create a weekly emotion report for the driver. And so we could potentially collect data over a period of time and also use that in research.
And additionally to that, we were considering talking to insurance companies as well. This is also in our future plans. But something like State Farm has a drive safe and save discounts that you can do if you choose to opt into that program. So in addition to the things they do now, which I believe include how fast you're going, or if you speed up, what time of day you drive, we could have an opt-in program with the data from your emotions to reduce your insurance premiums.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Linda Calhoun. I just had a question about data sources, particularly in sensing emotions and cultural differences that are widely divergent, from voice or from facial expression. How are you accounting for that?
I think that will primarily be accounted for. We'll have to have a very diverse training set so for example, if right now it's solely based on facial expression, so if we could expand our data set to have images of people of different age, genders, ethnicities, I think when it comes to actually training the model, the best way to incorporate these cultural differences is with the training data and the variety within it.
So another question from my side is, do you think you can create general models, or do you think the models really need to be personalized to each and every one of us?
One thing we discovered from the survey is that, for example, some people do not like music recommendations. There are some types of recommendations that some users like to receive and others don't. In fact, for example, if you were not interested in music recommendations, that could perhaps frustrate you even more if your vehicle started playing it automatically. So we wanted to make sure it's personalized so it mitigates the negative emotions instead of accidentally enhancing them.
And like people's emotions are something very unique to every single person, and I don't think that we didn't have the plan of generalizing it and actually giving each person to have the opportunity to personalize their system.
I'm curious about other potential applications of the technology. So, for example, as you're presenting, I'm thinking about waiting rooms, right? If there are people in, let's say, you know, I mean, not in the COVID era, but let's say you're waiting for some sort of haircut and there are a limited number of people and the business owners want to put you in the right mood, or on an airplane, for example, if you're in a certain type of cabin. So I'm just curious, where else have you been thinking about the potential applications, if at all? And can you talk about that?
Yeah, what you suggested, those are awesome ideas. That's definitely something we wanted to address. We kind of focused it so far to fit the automotive prompt, but like you said, I think any situation where users could definitely be engaged more. So like you said, waiting rooms or situations that involve like long waiting times where users aren't engaged. I think unless Shreya and Wilder have anything to add, those would be a great venue to explore.
Hi, sorry to interrupt, but just to let you know that the 20-minute period for this presentation has ended.
Well, this was an amazing presentation, and thank you, judges, for all your questions. I'll give you a couple minutes to finish the scoring, and the next team is Inside Out. Get ready, and in about 2 minutes, I will signal the start. And while they are doing that, I just want to tell everyone that if you have questions, I know as audience members, we have so many questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat. And, you know, after the judges have asked their questions, if there is time left over, I'm sure the teams will be happy to take on audience questions as well. All right, I think Inside Out can start now.
All right. So welcome everyone. We're Inside Out team, and we're here to present our solution, Hand in Hand, which is an engagement enhancing therapeutic platform for learning disorders. And we'd like first to introduce ourselves. So I'm Hadil Mabrouk from the American University in Cairo.
Hi, my name is Huang Le. I'm from Lafayette College in the US.
And I'm Giamad Ramos from St. John's High School in Puerto Rico.
We also would like to thank all of our mentors and advisors, Ahmed, Tanya, Sama, Gapi, Chris, and Alex, for their tremendous support. And here's our outline. We'll start by stating our problem, then we'll move to our solution, and then we'll discuss our market research and the competitive landscape, and then we'll conclude with our future plans. So we all know that children who have to learn via online platform have proven to be quite less engaged than when they are in in-person sessions. You can imagine how harder it can be for children with learning disorders. So our end users and stakeholders in this area are two sides. There's the therapist side and there's the child side. So from the therapist side, it's about the lack of interpersonal connection between them and the child. And on the other hand, from the child side, the online setting can be quite unattractive to some children. And also in some situations, counseling sessions can be quite inaccessible, whether because of demographic reasons or when maybe a child has some sort of physical impairment. So here comes our solution, Hand in Hand. It provides insightful analytics for the therapist, and we're here focusing on the physical display of emotions because we're aware of the fact that some metrics that like the arousal and the intensity of emotions are rather challenging to be measured through face rather than the voice. So we're primarily focusing on the facial emotions. It's also fun because we're providing funny filters on the therapist's face to make it more engaging and attractive for the children. And we're here trying to find the fine spot between being engaged because of the funny filter and being distracted by them. So we're also focusing on and experiencing on measuring and increasing and decreasing the intensity of different filters. It's also customized because the metrics that we're measuring can help the therapist find the best match between the child and the different learning styles. And we also keep track of the records for further improvement. So here we provide a simple demo. It's a simple session. We're mimicking playing the role of the therapist, and Hong is playing the role of the child. So we first have the session, and then I'm introducing some challenging question to Huang. He seems to be quite struggling with it, and then he finds the right answer, and we conclude the session. So here is the part when I'm introducing some challenging question. He seems to be quite confused about it. And then he managed to find the right answer. And after that, we conclude the session. And here is the analysis interface. So you can see the temporal data presented. So in our solution, we're focusing primarily for the sake of the demo on two important metrics. The first one is connection. And we built our interface out of the Affectivas SDK. So for connection, we're making a weighted average between valence and attention to measure the trust and connection between the therapist and the child and the engagement. And we're also measuring confusion. And based on our survey literature survey, we found that the brow furrow and the lip corner depressors are one of the key elements that can measure confusion. So in our analysis, we can see the analysis through different parts of the session to identify the key weaknesses of the learner, as well we're providing the average score to find the effectiveness of the session and to also keep track of the improvement of the learner. And then Jaya will walk you through our market research.
Now, why does the lack of engagement of children with learning disorders during their online sessions cause a problem? Well, according to the National Center for Disabilities, learning disorders is the largest of the 13 disorder categories covered under special education law. Due to the lack of special education, more than 20% of people with learning disorders have high risk of experiencing depression during their lifetime. In fact, around 39% of students actually receive special education for LD. 1 in 3 special needs learners have to repeat a grade, which increases their risk of dropping out. 7 out of 10 students with LD spend around 80% of their time in general education classrooms. And although inclusion is beneficial, in a nationwide survey, many general education teachers said they don't have the training or the resources to meet the needs of such diverse learners. Consequently, 18.1% of special needs learners drop out, nearly 3 times the rate of all students. Additionally, 55% of young adults with LD have been involved with the justice system. And it has been shown that low self-esteem caused by the lack of special education helps explain why 3 in 4 special needs students don't tell their college they have a learning disorder, and why only 1 in 20 young adults with LD actually receive accommodations in the workplace. Now, how big is this market? Well, it is 15 million children in the US alone. That is 20% of all children that have a learning disorder. And according to Dr. Matthew Goodwin, a personal health informatics and specialist in child psychology that we interviewed, more than 90% of children report an increase in anxiety levels because of their online learning experiences. And now our market graph. According to Crescent Research, the learning disorder treatment market in 2018 was set at $18 billion. It is expected that by 2027, it'll increase to $30 billion. That is a 6.5% compound annual growth rate. And this is based on the forecast period before COVID-19 from 2019 to 2027. It also is shown that the fastest growing segment by therapy market is assistive technology, which is exactly where our product falls in. So, who are we selling this to? We plan on selling this to therapy professional organizations. This will help them increase efficiency and reach by introducing technology into their sessions. We also plan on selling this to the children psychology researchers. This will help researchers identify individual differences and common points to increase their efficiency during sessions. We also plan on selling this to public education systems. This product will give public schools the opportunity to have an effective special needs program for students, whether they take them at school or at home. This is a great market to target because education is a strategic investment for every single country. And now I will pass it on to Huang to describe the competitive landscape.
Yes, in our competitive landscape, we have several competitors. We have direct competitors, and one of the competitors are offline sessions that provide a center for physical face-to-face contact between the special needs learner and the therapist. Another competitor are other online sessions conducted on general use platforms. So some examples of those competitors are BetterHelp, teen counseling, and Lexercise. However, our tool serves as an enhancement to other virtual platforms. So we may serve as a collaborator to those companies in the future. Another competitor for us are chatbots. Now these chatbots may provide some counseling and therapeutic services for special needs learners, but our tool differs from chatbots because we include interpersonal relationships and reactions between students and the therapist. We also have indirect competitors that support emotional, physical, and spiritual health. So with music therapy, dance therapy, and sports therapy. And this is where our product differs from the rest in the market. We provide automatic monitoring, which displays our face along with an analysis of the expressions, the emotions on our faces. And we are also interactive. We provide funny animated filters that encourage the engagement between the student and the therapist. We also provide analytics of improvement. Now these analytics come from data that are fed into a temporal graph that tracks our emotions, expressions over time, and that allows the therapist to come back and examine the reactions and behaviors of the special needs learners over a period of time. And finally, our product is accessible anywhere, regardless of demographic or physical constraints, given that there is stable Wi-Fi access. In the future, we hope to integrate the Affectiva SDK with the Zoom SDK, which is the platform that we are using now to perform our face analysis. We also hope to incorporate voice and body language analysis that allows for a more complete coverage and understanding of the expressions, behaviors, and emotions of the special needs learners. We also want to support other disorders, such as phobia, anxiety, and speech disorders. For example, with phobia, we can use metrics from the Affectiva SDK, such as fear and frustration, to create new metrics to understand and measure the phobia in special needs learners. We also want to encourage the engagement of special needs learners with the therapist, so we will include more interactive mini games. And finally, we want to include parents in this process between the therapist and the learner. So we'll provide parents with guideline PDFs and further encouragement of online toy stores that help children continue to be engaged in this process. And diversity. Our end goal is to redefine diversity in education. We want to create a diverse environment that suits the needs of each learner. We want to empower learners by better understanding their emotions and behaviors. Our product, hand in hand, provides a window into students' learning needs that therapists, parents, and educators can help each student succeed. And thank you for listening. I'll pass on to Hadil for further comments.
I think we have a couple of minutes to learn a live demo for our presentation. So I have to stop sharing the video in the Zoom so that I can access my camera on my browser. And you can see that it certainly asks for the use of the camera. So we want to emphasize that this is all done based on the consent from the side of the therapist as well as the patient. So here, like I show positive connection and I'm so like that I'm interested, while here I'm showing that I'm quite struggling. And then we first save the data to keep record of it. And we can see that our metrics are measuring the level of connection, like high connection at the beginning and then lower at the end, with high level of confusion when I try to act like I'm quite confused. And we're also measuring the average weights. Thank you so much.
Nicely done, team. Judges, it's all you now.
Hi, this is Keith. I really love this problem area because it's so near and dear to me as an investor and also as a person living in the U.S. And I wanted to just ask the question: what was the origin story for the team to decide on this specific problem? I would love to just hear very briefly what was the genesis to deciding that this is the problem you would like to apply the technology to.
All right, so I think it's the love of psychology that connects us all as a team. And also we were trying to identify the current solution that are present, especially after the online transition due to COVID-19. So we thought that this is one of the major problems that can affect so many children. I also, like, my sister is, I have a family member who's like a psychiatrist. So like maybe this is why like this came to my mind to discuss this area, because like I learned from her that she's quite struggling with her online session to communicate with other with her like patients.
Thank you for that. And you mentioned something that was very that resonated a lot with me, which was there's a significant percentage of people that don't have an internet connection, right? So of the 50 million children in the U.S. between kindergarten and 12th grade, there's 10 million that don't have an internet connection or a high-speed one. And I wanted to hear the team's thoughts on what you're doing with the technology so that it actually works on a low speed or a low grade connection. Anything that the team have given thought to on that?
I think that maybe like solving it for people with internet connection who do not have access to in-person sessions can like quite solve major parts of the problem. However, we can try to further advance this to have the access to people without internet connection. So we're still maybe like trying to figure out how to solve this area, but I believe that in the coming years, especially, and with the advancement of 5G and networking, I think higher percentage of people will have like internet access.
Thank you.
So excellent presentation, team. I'd love to hear thoughts that you have. So a lot of what you're thinking of is detecting and displaying the emotion content, which is huge. What do you see as the intervention side of this? You know, what does the therapist do with that, and how do they use that to shape their practice?
Yes, I would like to speak on that.
Definitely.
Yes. So in the future, we hope the therapist would receive the data and do the temporal graphs. But in the future, we would hope to advance our prototype by creating some sort of a dashboard that allows the therapist to record online sessions and conversations with the student. And then that therapist can come back in the future to analyze at which points certain expressions or reactions and behaviors may be displayed. And then that therapist can use that information to provide different learning approaches that could encourage engagement and encourage greater understanding of the material, to empower the student to be more effective, to be the best that they can be.
Thank you.
So great job. Thank you so much for your hard work. I'm curious if there's a particular age category that you think that this is especially appropriate for.
Gia, do you want to have this?
Yeah. So we are aiming our product to be more at younger children, but it could be used, the aspect of collecting data can be used for all children till 18 years old, but the aspect of the filters is mainly for the younger children, since it is more attractive to them rather than to an 18-year-old. So we are aiming it to all children from 3 years old to 18, but the filter area is mainly for 3 to 12-year-olds before preteens.
I would also would like to add to this that for children with younger age, the explicit display of emotions are quite more vivid than people with older ages. So what we made quite exclude, like maybe addressing adult psychology, is the fact that most of the emotions are quite implicit. So it can be quite challenging to measure the emotions more accurately. So this is why we're trying to focus our solution on quite young age children.
So just to follow on that, so I'm imagining I have a almost 7-year-old and she loves filters, right? So filters, and I'm wondering how do you ensure that the concentration and the focus isn't on the filter as opposed to the content? So you may start to track eye movements and engagement with the visual, but not necessarily what the person is trying to communicate. And I guess a follow-on is just, you know, I'm thinking about, again, my 7-year-old or almost 7-year-old, she will at some point figure out that if she frowns, she's going to see the filter. So I'm just curious about how do you deal with, you know, mischievous and pesky, children who are very excited about what you have, but don't quite connect with the content as a result.
All right. I also would like to emphasize on the fact that the filters would be primarily on the side of the therapist face, so the filters will not be like for the children. And we also, like as I said during the presentation, we're primarily focusing on finding the fine spot between being engaged because of the filter rather than being distracted because of it. So we're primarily focusing on simple filters like maybe glasses, some funny simple filters rather than more complicated ones. And we're also experimenting adding the increasing and fading of the intensity of different filters, so that maybe like if the child is too engaged and busy with the filters, we can like decrease the intensity.
Given the ballooning of the online education market right now, how much adaptation do you think you could do automatically to content where you don't have as much of a one-to-one therapist, patient or teacher-student relationship at the moment?
So our solution is primarily focusing on one-to-one sessions, but maybe like if we were to apply this for educational purposes, we would like to work further on the analysis part so that it can include the average of the engagement of the whole students, but maybe with other metrics like confusion, it should be quite personalized to each student. So we should like work on the interface like if this was the case.
Thank you.
I think there is a question that Rana has posted, so I will read it out to you. Have you thought about how you would get real data of therapy sessions?
I think most of the therapeutic sessions are often recorded, like because the therapist might need them for further to keep record of the data and for further enhancements. So we believe that we could find a quite set of data that we can work on to further improve this from the recorded online sessions already.
Sorry to interrupt, but the 20-minute period for this presentation has ended.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you, Team Inside Out. Amazing presentation and great answers. The next team to present will be the EMPath Titans. So get ready, team, while the judges take a couple minutes to finish up their scoring.
All right, am I good to start? Or should I wait?
Let's give them one more minute.
Okay.
I know you're so eager to show us.
Yeah.
All right. EMPath Titans, you are on.
All right, perfect. So first of all, thanks so much everybody for coming and watching all of our presentations. Over the past couple of weeks, my team and I, we've learned so much and had so much fun meeting each other and working on our product, EffectoBot. So the prompt that we were the most passionate about was prompt 3, which is creating the future of virtual events with emotion AI. And our solution is ultimately EffectoBot, which we're really excited to tell you guys about today. And before we get right into that, I first want to introduce myself and my fellow teammates. So my name is Mikey. I am a high school student and I go by he, him, his pronouns. And I'm really passionate about the intersection between emerging technologies and mental health. And then our second teammate is Adar. He's a university student at Oberlin College and he goes by he, him, his pronouns. So unfortunately, Adar could not be with us for this presentation right now. He was with the presentation for us this morning. He absolutely killed it. He's such a key member to our team, but unfortunately his father has COVID and his health is deteriorating very rapidly. So he had to go to the hospital to be with his father this afternoon, but we thank you all for being extremely understanding during these times.
Hello everyone, my name is Roshan. I'm a rising high school senior and I really enjoy programming and machine learning, especially for social good. And I'm super excited to show you all what we've been making.
Hi everyone, I'm Jaleesa. I'm a rising sophomore at Lafayette College studying chemical engineering and data science. I'm really passionate about energy resources and how we could integrate technology to that. And now I'm going to talk about why my team is so passionate about this prompt. It is important as a presenter to know how engaged your audience is. With the current COVID-19 pandemic, most events and conferences have been run on virtual platforms like Zoom and Google Meet. Using Zoom, for example, it is very hard for a presenter to see how engaged their audience is, making it very hard to deliver information in an interactive and engaging manner. With this problem at hand, imagine having a Zoom plugin that gives real-time feedback to a presenter during their presentation and after their presentation. Imagine having an engaging presenter-audience relationship during a Zoom call. I'm talking about imagining how valuable this project would be for Affectiva Virtual Summit 2020. In order to know more about this project, we decided to do some market research. After creating a form filled by 50 Zoom users, we realized that close to 98% of the people talked about how the Zoom plugin would enhance their Zoom experiences. In addition to that, we talked to keynote speakers like Isabella, for example, who mentioned how she would want to emotionally connect with her audience.
Similarly, Ria emphasized how important it is to maintain interactive presentations, especially when online.
Thank you very much, Roshan. After gathering all this information, we concluded that this is a problem we would want to work on.
Yeah, so as you were saying, Jaleesa, we did a lot of market research and eventually came to a problem statement. And that's that it's difficult for speakers to engage their audience and actually establish an emotional connection virtually. So we broke this problem down into 3 main categories, the first being attention. As a speaker speaking to an audience, it's difficult to gauge the attention and engagement of your audience virtually. And this also goes the same for an emotional connection. It's difficult to create that emotional connection between a speaker and audience members virtually, mostly because I can't necessarily see all of your faces right now as I'm speaking to you all. And I also can't interact with you guys physically. And the third part of this is no feedback. As a presenter, I can't actually see all of your facial expressions. So as you can imagine, if I'm delivering a technical presentation right now, and maybe you guys all have confused faces, I don't really know that virtually, but at an in-person event, I could probably take note of that and adapt my presentation accordingly. But of course, a lot harder to do virtually. So with these problems in mind, we decided to create EffectoBot. And EffectoBot is powered by AI and gives live updates on the level of attention, emotion, and engagement. And he can do this in any virtual setting.
Thank you very much, Mikey, for introducing EffectoBot. And as Mikey mentioned, EffectoBot gives real-time updates to a presenter. But now let's talk about what goes into EffectoBot. So as a presenter, you would present different information. but the audience would have to react to whatever you say. And how the audience react is by typing in information in a chat box that would be used to create some sentiment analysis at the end of the presentation and given to the presenter as feedback. In addition to this, if a presenter mentions something that is really funny, so the audience is gonna react with emojis that would be used to create a more engaging summary at the end for the presenter to help he or she become a better presenter. As you can see at the left side of this figure, you have different chats. For example, you have attention, emotion, and engagement that kind of demonstrate how the audience felt during the presentation.
Like Jaleesa was saying, AffectiveBot really tries to make the call as interactive as possible for audience members, but ultimately this role falls to the speaker. And that's why AffectiveBot has several features built in to allow for speakers to better captivate their audience. First off, AffectiveBot provides real-time audience engagement updates. Like Mikey was saying earlier, it's hard to really track the audience, especially virtually. So AffectiveBot provides like easy to read metrics just to like gauge the setting. Additionally, AffectiveBot provides real-time presentation suggestions. For example, say I look off the screen or seem like otherwise distracted. AffectiveBot would just give a friendly reminder telling me to make eye contact with the audience again. And it's really these small things which make a presentation great. Finally, AffectiveBot provides an end of presentation summary with all the metrics from the call. And this is just a great way for speakers to see how they did and use this information to improve their future presentations. So without further ado, let us take a look at the demo.
All right, AffectiveBot's time to shine.
So originally, Adar and I were doing this demo together. I took the role of the speaker, and he took the role of the audience. It was really great working with him. We spent a lot of time trying to get the Zoom SDK working with Affectiva up until the very last minute. So this is just the recording from earlier today when we presented. So thank you to Affectiva for getting us this video, and thank you all for understanding. So welcome to the Affectiva Emotion AI Summit of 2020. Reaching the summit is as easy as entering the URL into any browser, and then bam, here we are. As you can see, I'm the speaker right here, and Adar is my audience. So as we mentioned earlier, we have these live engagement updates. So for example, say I smile. The emoji would change accordingly. And let's say, for example, I'm getting distracted and I look away somewhere. Well, great, AffectiveBot just gave me a suggestion to look back into the camera. With all of this in mind, let's now take a look at what the audience sees.
Thank you, Roshan. So as Roshan just demonstrated, that is what the speaker will see from his or her perspective. There are a couple of interesting elements here, but let's say I'm an audience member for this demo and simulating being in the audience. There's a couple of key features here that we built into the user interface. So towards the left here, we have a little chart that is gauging the collective attention, emotion, and engagement of fellow audience members. We also have to the right, let's say Roshan says a really funny joke, I can react appropriately and use the laughing emoji here. And these are just ways for the audience to really provide that live feedback that isn't possible, virtually.
Oh, Mikey, I think you're muted.
Sorry about that. That's why I need AffectiveBot. Let me share again. Okay, here we go. So as I was just saying, we're really grateful that we were able to work with Adar. We're hoping him and his family are doing well. And thank you all again for understanding. So then at the end of the presentation, from the speaker point of view, they basically get this end report that AffectiveBot generates. So on the very left here, you can see, the average percentage of the audience that was engaged. And then you can also see the average percentage of text that was positive that we would undergo with sentiment analysis. And right now we're exploring different models such as LSTMs and transformers to see which one can do this the most accurate. And then in the middle here, over time, what Affectobot has generated is the levels of emotion such as attention, joy, and anger over time. And what we want to do is actually make it so the speaker can download a transcript to see what exact words they said and like where exactly in the presentation prompted these responses. So going forward, they can create more engaging presentations. And then on the very right, we can see here, gathered from the chat, some of the most commonly said words throughout the presentation.
After mentioning all the technical stuff about Affectobot, let's talk about money. Let's talk about how we could use Affectobot to create revenue. So our main audience is innovative tech conferences because we believe that Affectobot could be used by presenters to better interact with their audiences. But Affectobot could be used in the educational sector as well, because professors could use Affectobot to know how to better engage their students. And also think about the virtual career fairs. Affectobot would be very helpful for networking events because it would help employers know if students are really interested in their internships and interested in working in their companies. In addition to that, Affectobot would be very helpful for telehealth visits because it would help doctors to know how much pain their patients are going through, or just to know if their patients are engaged in their conversation. Think about comedians. Their main goal is to engage their audience. Affectobot would be very helpful because it would help them achieve their goal at the end of the day.
Yeah, for sure. So as Jaleesa was just saying, our main target audience are these big tech conferences with innovations such as Collision and Web Summit. And let's take a look now at the competitive advantages that our team possesses. And the first one is that we have no to minimal direct competitors using emotion AI in the exact way that we are training Affectobot to do. But this doesn't mean that we don't have any indirect competitors who could potentially copy our solution or do something very similar. And this is why we're really grateful that this project is already affiliated with Affectiva, the most successful emotion AI company. And we'd love to be able to leverage Affectiva's expansive and very large network to be connected to different big tech events like Web Summit, Collision, and hopefully the Emotion AI Summit of Affectiva 2020. And thirdly, the time to do this and launch this product is now. And this is because of the coronavirus. Now that all of these big events are moving virtual, there needs to be more engagement. So the demand for this is very high currently.
So I just had a chat with Affectobot and he told me all of you are super interested. So let's talk about the next steps. First off, we need to finish the software development. Today you saw the Zoom view of both the audience and the speaker. We just need to make sure that the two are seamlessly integrated. After this, we need to finish our backend development and ensure that our software is usable on all platforms, whether that be Android, iOS, Mac, or Windows, just so that it's as accessible as possible. After this, we hope to market and sell to our target customers, which are big tech conferences. So we hope to reach out to Web Summit, Collision, and hopefully the Affectiva Emotion AI Summit of 2020 as well. Ultimately, though, we hope to expand into other markets as well. There's great potential for Affectobot, as Jaleesa mentioned earlier, in telehealth and education, and maybe even on platforms like Localized. So yeah, the possibilities are truly endless with Affectobot.
For sure. So just to give kind of the rundown, a high overview of our presentation, what we just talked to you guys about. The problem is that we have these affectless virtual events that aren't as engaging as in-person events. But through this, we saw the opportunity to birth Affectobot. And Affectobot is able to make these big conferences more engaging and establish more of an emotional connection. So thank you everybody to listening to our presentation. I'm going to leave the executive summary up for the Q&A. So if you guys want to refer back to this, that's awesome. And then we also have some appendix slides.
Thank you for the presentation, and I do spend quite a lot of time on Zoom, so I'm really pleased to know that someone's thinking about how to make it better, right? Although they've done quite a lot to improve. I wanted to ask you and the team from the perspective of the speaker, right? So the individual speaking from one to many. As you've gone through this learning journey, what's the one must-have, like the gotta-have, where the speaker might say, if I had this capability in Zoom, I would buy it, I would sell it, I would enlist it, I would recruit everyone to use it because this is the one thing that is such a pain point that is missing for me. What is that that the team have identified, or what do you think that might be?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm just going to, in response to your question, refer back to this slide, the understanding of the problem. So for me personally, I really like presenting and talking to large amounts of people. And I guess the most difficult part about that is actually not getting feedback from my audience, because usually I do a lot of like technical presentations, that kind of thing. I can kind of tell if my audience is confused or something like that, but virtually it's like, I can't see everybody's face. It's very difficult to do that. So for me, that would definitely be like the pain point, my main pain point, to be able to see confusion. And then also to be able to see, are people even engaged in my presentation, is also a huge part of it for me.
Yeah, and just to add on what Mikey said, I think presenting to an audience is a skill like any other skill. And like any other skill, it needs practice. So I think the fact that we give feedback at the end of the presentation would help the presenter to become a better presenter in the next presentation. So I think this is one of the things that would make a presenter want to use this platform, because he or she is not just going to be a good presenter virtually, but is also going to be a good presenter throughout his entire life. So I think this is one of the key things that our project is doing, is that we are not just making it temporal, we are making it permanent as well.
Right. And, you know, imagine being able to download the transcript or a recording of your presentation and actually see what's prompting these emotional responses. Like for me, that's just like so satisfying. You know, that's like something we'd really love to continue developing.
Got it. So in the end, it improves the presenter's effectiveness in this virtual universe.
Right, for sure.
So, personally, a fascinating concept, and I'd love to buy it. Would definitely help in these days living by Zoom. One of the key facets you're working with is that you're asking the end receiver, the listener, to type in and impact things through the chat with emojis. Mm-hmm. How much thought have you put into leveraging the camera in their computer and pulling some of this out automatically? We know the smiles are there, we can't see them. We know the laughter's there. What kind of thought do you have there?
Mikey, could you please go to the text slide?
Yeah, for sure. Let me get to that right here.
Yeah, so at the moment, you can see like the machine learning layer of EffectoBot, and emojis and chat, of course, we talked about earlier, but like video, as of right now, is the biggest component which we're using.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're kind of all aggregated in this EffectoBot layer. And as you can see, like, it's just as easy as feeding the Zoom stream through it.
Yeah, okay. So I picked up on the emojis from the presentation side, and as opposed to missing the important detail here in the left box. And I think that's really important. Any thought, and one follow-up question there, to the use of the technology in training speakers? To become an effective speaker, you need to learn to convey an audience. Now, traditionally that audience has been in person. Now it's the world's virtual. But we all need to learn how to speak differently. Right. It is very difficult to give a talk to a camera. It's very difficult to learn how to give a talk to an audience. But effect and success in life comes from conveying a message and conveying that effectively.
Right.
So what thoughts do you have in this area?
Yeah, for sure. So there are definitely, I've seen some different applications that can use your audio and actually give you tips, how to improve your tone and things like that. But there isn't a lot trying to integrate all of these different data sources and taking like a multimodal approach that we are doing with EffectoBot. So we definitely like to probably incorporate some kind of subscription program for people who are trying to learn how to present better, because this would also be an amazing source of revenue as well.
Yeah, also today you saw how EffectoBot gave me a suggestion to look back in the camera, and we could add more features like this, like suggestions during the presentation. And yeah, we could even make like an EffectoBot teacher mode, or yeah.
Right.
So first of all, congrats and thank you for this. This is great. A couple of additional questions. How tied are you to Zoom specifically? There are a few Zoom competitors that are now coming into the fore, and I'm just curious, how easy would it be to apply this to some of the other options on the market or some of the up and coming challengers?
Yeah, for sure. So, Mikey, could you please go to the text slide again?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, so like as you saw in this text slide, in our prototype we just used the machine learning layer with Zoom since that was easiest for us to do. But we could really transport this EffectoBot to any platform, whether that be WebEx, Google Meet. It would just be a matter of integrating the two together.
Right, and I'd like to just go off of that and yeah, give you credit for how much time you and Adar put into actually integrating it with Zoom. That was one of the biggest challenges that our team had, but we eventually saw that through. But yeah, for sure, definitely expanding to different platforms as well.
Guys, unfortunately, time is up for this presentation, so we're going to have to move on.
Thank you, Team EMPath Titans or Team EffectoBot. Let's give the judges about 2 minutes to score you. And our next team, last but certainly not the least, Team Einiters. So get ready and I will signal in 2 minutes. All right, Team Einiters, tell us about your work.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming today. We are Team Innators, and we'll be pitching our product idea, Introspect. Here is the wonderful team that brought this product to life. My name is Olivia Dias, and I'm a rising senior at Taunton High School.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ashwarya Rajesh, and I'm a rising sophomore at UIUC.
Hey guys, I'm Catherine, and I'm an incoming freshman at MIT.
Hi everyone, I'm Sagar Patel, and I'm a rising senior at John P. Stevens High School.
And last, but certainly not least, our phenomenal mentor, Shamik. First, Aishwarya will be talking about our problem. Trigger warning, we do mention the topic of suicide during this portion. Next, Sagar will discuss our solution. Aishwarya will then cover why our product works for our end users. I will then describe our market analysis, and finally, Catherine will walk through the demo and the next steps for our product.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all? We're all familiar with this line. The evil queen heard an answer she didn't like, and Snow White paid the price. But what if her mirror had her best interests at heart? What if it knew exactly what to say to soothe the queen's insecurities? A lot of people could use that kind of support. Americans and the international population alike are experiencing a global mental health crisis, continually being accelerated by the current COVID-19 pandemic. Just in the US alone, 43.8 million people have emotional and behavioral health issues that often go without receiving any sort of treatment. Medical studies display that social isolation and loneliness is at an all-time high. On top of that, access to therapy or a safe confidant is sometimes unreliable. This poses a serious question. Do people have the emotional and mental support they need? To answer this question, we performed our own research to understand how people are feeling. We surveyed people from different cultures, backgrounds, and professions from all over the world, with most currently based in the United States. In a survey of almost 150 people, ranging from high school students to senior citizens, 73% of all respondents mentioned that they often feel overworked, stressed, or anxious. On a scale from 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest state of health, unfortunately, most people fall somewhere in the middle. In other words, they do not have great mental health. People also don't have an outlet for their problems. Looking at our data, over 77%, the yes and sometimes, responded that they would want to talk to and share their problems with another person, but only 53 people frequently felt comfortable doing so. Even more troubling, all of these metrics were consistent across age, gender, and occupation. 2 people committed suicide at my school. My best friend and I have both tried, and the experience has changed my life. Taking a moment to read and understand the powerful sentiment of this high school junior, it is evident that many people, no matter who they are or where they are in life, lack the emotional support they need for their struggles. Students in particular should be worrying about school and extracurriculars and family and friends, not who's next. This is why we sought to create a product that can help people who are stressed, lonely, or dealing with any other mental health issues. We do not seek to give professional help. Rather, our mission is to provide a temporary source of companionship and comfort for those in need of it. With accessibility as our aim, our product is designed to accommodate a wide range of users, as we believe every single person should have an outlet to express their emotions and feelings.
Our solution is Introspect. We propose a smart mirror that understands your emotions in real time and converses with you, uses Effectiva's emotion AI along with natural language processing to act as an outlet for your problems. It's manually enabled. It works by tracking your emotions using a camera mounted on a mirror and a microphone to listen to what you're saying. The voice agent converts your voice into text, and the state-of-the-art natural language engine processes your voice and emotion and comes up with a response, which is then played out. These are some of the examples of the scenarios that the mirror can handle. In the first example, we have a happy person asking the mirror how she looks. The mirror comes up with a positive response to encourage the person. In the second scenario, we see a person with a sad expression on his face. The mirror responds accordingly with a positive message to uplift the person. The third example is just a neutral conversation, and the mirror responds accordingly.
This interviewee, a data analyst in the marketing industry, mentioned, every once in a while she goes on a solo trip. It helps her acknowledge her problems that she's been pushing away, and she talks about her problems out loud, and it helps her process them. She is just one of the many who feel that real-time interaction with mirrors, specifically Introspect, to express their emotions has a multitude of psychological benefits. Corroborating our interview's experiences, in a sociological study, sociologists recorded people with depression and anxiety when they were in a depressed episode. Later on, when the recordings were played back, it was proved that talking to oneself and seeing how they acted was more beneficial than a therapist. Adding on, while our technology is innovative, the mirror itself is a concept we're all familiar with and rely on a daily basis, whether we realize it or not. Everyone has a mirror, so everyone, regardless of experience with AI assistance, can incorporate Introspect into their home. Currently, negative mental health stigmas as well as financial barriers are major pain points for those who cannot access mental health resources. In other words, expecting backlash and disapproval, most people aren't reluctant to talk to people even though they would want to. Thus, utilizing a common household item that would conveniently already be at your home allows high accessibility and simplicity to people of multiple social groups.
The solidified idea of creating smart mirror for access for all, we started our market analysis. First, the market for our product, like Introspect, definitely exists. There are home assistants and smart mirrors already out there, such as Alexa, Amazon Echo, or Lululemon, and conversational and therapeutic chatbots such as Replica and Mindscape. We also want to determine the scope of our customer desire for our product. So we asked in our survey with diverse and global participants if people have used smart mirrors or other virtual assistant AI products, such as Alexa or various chatbots. As you can see on the top right of the screen, 64% of all survey participants from diverse backgrounds and age ranges have used such products and are fairly familiar with them. The majority of those people were in our target market. Our target market consists currently of students, working adults, and senior citizens. As in our survey, all of these people were either more likely to be lonely, stressed, or reluctant to vocalize their problems to others. It also showed that a significant part of our end users were engaged in products such as Replica, Mirror, Wobot, and Alexa. Here are some statistics on these products in our market. We can see that they're doing pretty well. As you can see at the bottom of the screen, the smart mirror market is projected to grow from $1.75 million to $4.12 million. And the chatbot market is projected to grow from $2.6 billion to $9.4 billion. Our product, Introspect, is going into a very profitable and rapidly expanding market.
So what makes Introspect better than the other products that we mentioned? Well, to start, it's one of the first of its kind that uses computer vision to detect its user's emotions. Most wellness chatbots out there require the user to manually select how they're feeling. So happy, sad, angry, etc., before the conversation even begins. In contrast, Introspect determines their emotion automatically from their facial expression and provides a more streamlined experience. Introspect is also one of the only wellness chat tools that communicates through a voice agent rather than text, which makes it feel more intimate to the user. Next, as a part of our mission to make this sort of mental health support accessible to everyone, Introspect is designed to appeal to audiences that current AI mental health tools don't. One way we do this is through cultural precedents. Everybody knows the story of Snow White and the talking mirror. So the concept of a talking mirror is already ingrained in a lot of people. Thus, people might feel less awkward talking to a mirror instead of a disembodied phone software like Replica, and they would be more open to using it to work through their problems. Additionally, the fact that Introspect is quite literally a physical mirror means that its physical components are far more pronounced than those of its competitors, so it may even appeal more to older folks who aren't as familiar with purely virtual products. Finally, when it comes to voice-enabled assistants like Alexa, many avoid them out of privacy concerns, worried that Alexa is listening to them or recording them when they don't want it to. We took this into consideration when creating Introspect. The mirror is designed only to come on when the user deliberately turns it on, through pressing a button or tapping the screen. Those we interviewed said that they'd feel far more comfortable with this sort of mechanism in comparison with other voice agent products out there.
Here are some specific comparisons to other products. Both Replica and Mindscape use a single input source. Replica uses text-based and Mindscape uses voice-based input. This limits the accuracy of emotion capturing, and reviews of these products talk about how frustrating the experience of inaccurate or inappropriate responses from the product avatar are. Whereas Introspect uses an innovative combination of computer vision and speech recognition to more accurately detect emotions. Mindscape is a more structured conversation, and a lot of users complain about the restrictions and limitations of the conversation. Unlike Mindscape, Introspect is able to have a more open-ended conversation that is designed to create a warm and engaging environment. Replica does have some open-ended dialogue and the ability to replicate the user based on their conversations. However, many users dislike the myriad and type of questions asked by the avatar before it is able to know and replicate you. Where our product Introspect excels is at prioritizing listening to the needs of the user, being more of a companion and not a copy.
So here are some other testimonials from our interviews about the potential of our product. An occupational therapist we interviewed said that it could be a good, versatile complement to professional treatments, and that professionals can also recommend the app. A high school student that we interviewed who works frequently at our local youth center said that our product can help normalize mental health struggles, especially within low-income communities. The graph at the bottom also corroborates such interest. According to our survey, over 75% of respondents would consider buying a mental health tech product like ours. So those are the yeses and the maybes. Now we are going to demonstrate the concept of Introspect in action. Our final application ended up being pretty intensive to run, so for the sake of time, we've decided to do a pre-recorded demo that has some of the processing time cut out. This demo will also be using a webcam feed in place of a physical mirror.
I feel so sad right now. My boss just yelled at me all day.
That's what happens when you're the only one who cares about the work. You read just a little. Kid, you can't do much, but if you do, we'll get the raise. You are not alone. Just remember.
Aw, thank you. That makes me feel so much better, but my boss just, he doesn't get it. He keeps yelling at me. I don't know what to do.
He's just a little kid. He can't do much.
I feel so happy right now. Today was such a good day.
I'm so excited right now. I can't even.
I feel the same exact way. I'm glad we're on the same page.
So as you can see, we did use a pre-trained dialogue model, so the conversational ability isn't quite up to snuff yet, but we hope this gave you a better idea of how we envision the interaction to go. So where do we want to go from here? We believe that Introspect has a lot of potential to scale and improve. Thus, one of our immediate next steps is to expand the talent surrounding our product. We've already connected with therapists and telehealth experts that are willing to collaborate with us to improve the product, and who have also expressed interest in conducting research with it and recommending it to patients. Specialized mental health applications. As mentioned before, talking to a mirror can have plenty of psychological benefits. Introspect is currently geared for the average person, but with the help of mental health professionals, it can help those with more specific mental health needs. For example, we could develop separate voice agents dedicated to comforting veterans with PTSD, or one dedicated to conducting mirror exercises for those with body dysmorphia. We've also envisioned Introspect playing a part in a whole ecosystem of effective companions. Imagine a fridge that converses with you about your eating habits, or a shower that could give you therapy. Introspect software can be expanded to these products and create a comforting, empathetic user experience that extends throughout the entire home. Portability is another thing we'd like to look into. Some people might not consider their safe space their home, so we could develop a compact version of the mirror for people to take with them anywhere. Finally, of course, we'd like to implement additional features, such as multilingual support, a music system based on the user's mood, anything that could further improve the user's experience.
Thank you to everyone who watched. I want to say a thank you to our mentor, Shamik. Also, a thank you to our judges, Ronit, Keith, and Brian. Thank you to our floating mentors and everyone at Affectiva for all their hard work. Thank you, Rana, for the encouragement and the opportunity to do this program. Thank you, Tanya, for giving us suggestions for our product and design that we use to improve it. And thank you again to everyone who watched and came to listen to our pitch. Now we'll be answering any questions.
And thank you for the preparation and working on such an impactful project and initiative as it relates to mental health and wellness. I have a couple of just fundamental questions. The first, and these are kind of related to the general kind of what is your business, right? So the first is, are you focused on consumer wellness? So this is something that can be applicable to everyone, or are you primarily focused on folks who perhaps have been diagnosed with the condition? And this is a medium for folks who have been diagnosed to make improvement. Which one is your business, or are you in a bit of both?
I can answer that question. So like we mentioned, I think our primary target audience is just the general public who may have, day-to-day struggles. So, like in the example, a rough day of work, something that this is a tool for people to work out their problems. In the future, we do hope to expand so that these products are more customized for people with diagnosed needs, like you mentioned. Some of these examples are veterans with PTSD or people that have body dysmorphia related problems. But we do want to make this as accessible as possible for people of all different types of mental health issues.
Thank you. And the next is, are you in the hardware business? So are you building or manufacturing mirrors, or are you looking to be the software that perhaps can attach to the actual company mirror, right? Where they already have a device, they manufactured it, they have customers, right? where this could be the experience that could bring more value to their overall health, connecting the physical health along with the mental health. Which business are you in? Are you in both, like Peloton?
I can answer this question again as well. So right now we are focused on both the software and hardware. Due to the time of the Makeathon, we haven't done anything in terms of hardware, but our idea is that there will be a camera that's very visible because we do value every consumer's privacy. And along with that mirror that's embedded, we'd also have some like chips that are more designed on the nanoscale. So that way it is very efficient, but also we're trying to save as much money as possible so we can, make this as accessible for everyone as possible. Like Catherine mentioned, we do plan on expanding this to other products, which some of them include portable mirrors, as well as therapy showers. In the case of a therapy shower, the camera visual is not a part of it, obviously because of privacy issues, but then the software becomes much more important in that case.
Thank you.
Great questions, great answers, everyone. One question I have is that, the hardware side is kind of the easier side, and hardware can feel a lot here. But there is a lot of differences and diverging paths on the back end. I mean, whether that's a teen focused on mental health, as you used it in your vignette early on, or someone suffering from chronic depression issues later in life. I can very easily envision, each one being a different app that one can be built in, looking at this modularized. Where do you see as your first path to market, given that one can't accomplish all and the amount of complexity and divergence on the back end is a challenge and one that needs to be appropriately prioritized?
I could take this question. As you said, it will be a challenge to have a multimodal system where we can accommodate multiple people's needs. However, we will be focusing mainly on general populations for now, like students, working adults, or senior citizens that are feeling lonely or stressed, and we will be focusing our software development around those groups of people. And in the future, we will work on having a more diverse system that can incorporate specific needs of veterans with PTSD and other mental health disorders.
So Olivia, great answer. And I'm just scooping in a little bit here because I think there's a lot of complexity here that I'd love just to hear your thoughts on. There's no right or wrong answers. So, older adults who are suffering from isolation, everybody's suffering from a degree of isolation right now in various degrees. But a grandparent is far different than a 10-year-old child, which to have running around outside someplace. Can you solve all that at once, or do you need to focus on the 10-year-old very differently? And if so, where do you go first?
Yeah, so going back again, so our main mission is trying to accommodate as many users as possible, but also providing a customized experience, right? So which is obviously a difficult thing to do. Just as you mentioned, a 10-year-old and a grandparent's much different. So for right now, like Olivia mentioned, we're really focusing on allowing the user to navigate most of the conversation. So, saying how their day was, and using our trained model, the mirror will be able to respond. As for specific issues in the future, we are looking into designing something that's specified for children versus older adults, because obviously the complexity of issues and the things they're talking about will vary, and we do understand that.
I also want to add on to that response. We want to generalize the model as much as possible because it is a challenging problem in machine learning itself, but we are looking to generalize it to as wide an audience as possible. And we are also looking into making specialized model for special cases like PTSD or other mental disorders.
Hey everyone, time is up on this last presentation, but thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you, team Initers. Ronit, you look like you had a question.
I did, yeah, I did. It was somewhat similar to what Rana had typed into the chat. So first of all, great job, but great job, full stop. I was thinking about mirror, right? To me, it was a bit of the elephant in the living room, and I was just curious about You know, when you mentioned elderly populations, it just struck me that there's a potentially beautiful synergy between you going after demographics that they clearly can't, like let them solve the hardware packaging problems. There's so many applications that they're not focused on. And so I wanted to drill down a little bit more to understand your thinking about what do you think would be different about the hardware that you would want to produce that would warrant being both hardware and software. I absolutely see the software applications of it and would just love to hear a little bit more about your thinking there.
Yeah, I can take this question. So the reason why we chose to do a hardware component on top of the software, and especially a mirror as the medium, is because of our goal to appeal to a wider audience. So there are a lot of other similar products that are like wellness chatbots and stuff, but those are all on purely a virtual medium. So they're only like a phone app, or they're only like a thing that's attached to Alexa and doesn't have a visual component. And so with that elderly population in mind, we thought that it may have been a little bit more difficult to reach them with that sort of purely virtual product.
All right, let me clarify. I absolutely agree with you about using a mirror. I'm just thinking about the product, the mirror, right, which is a mirror. About why not build on that as opposed to manufacturing your own mirror, your own smart mirror. So I just wanted to understand that a little bit more.
So we decided to try to manufacture our own smart mirror only because other smart mirrors are actually a lot more expensive compared to what we were initially going to have our price be. They are in the $1,000+ range. And so to make sure that everyone has access to the smart mirror, we wanted to be able to design a more affordable option. And so to do the more affordable option, we would have to manufacture our own mirrors and put our software in it.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Well, I think that brings us to the end of our 4 presentations, and what will happen next looks something like this. Ashleen is going to whisk away the judges to a breakout room to deliberate, and I think they have a tough job ahead of them. But the rest of us are going to stay on in this room, and you get to listen to a conversation with some of our former empathians. So I will let Ashleen whisk them away, and she may have already done so. All right, guys, what a day this has been, and it's still not the end. The fun continues. So I would like you to join me in conversation with 3 very special people. Alex Reichenbach, former EMPath intern from 2017 and the first high schooler I ever mentored. Radwa Hamid, former EMPath intern from 2018 and one of my first fully virtual mentees. Though I will take a sidebar and also say hi to Islam Faisal, who has been able to join us. And he was actually the very first EMPath intern, and he was also the first fully virtual intern that I had. So welcome, Islam. Thank you for making the time to join us. And last but not the least, Samiha Samrose, former EMPath intern from 2019, as well as my current collaborator on several research papers. Thank you, Alex, Radwa, and Samiha for joining us. And would you just take a few minutes to introduce yourself to this lovely audience and before we get into our conversation?
Is there a particular order you want us to introduce ourselves in?
You get to be first.
Okay. So as Tanya said, I was an intern in 2017, and I remotely was an intern in 2018 at Effectiva. Currently, I'm going to Yale University doing a joint bachelor's and master's in computer science. I'm also an AI resident at Metition, which is an early stage startup in Palo Alto, where I do computer vision research.
Okay, I'll go next. Hi, everyone. My name is Radwa. As Tanya mentioned, I was an intern in 2017, and then I actually came back to work full-time at Affectiva for 2018 and 2019. which was very exciting and a great experience that I had. And I'm currently doing my master's at Stanford, studying product design and management. And yeah, excited to be here.
Hi, this is Samiha. I am a computer science PhD student at University of Rochester. I was an EMPath intern in 2019. So my work area is about affective computing, and mostly I worked on how to analyze emotion and behavior in group conversation, and then how do you design the effective intervention strategies through visualization or agent-based. And when I was at Affectiva, and that was in my third year of PhD, I worked with Tanya, Ajay, they were my mentors, and others about building an empathetic agent, and it was so much fun, and I'm so excited to be back talking about that.
Thank you guys for those awesome introductions. You certainly have done a lot since the first time we met each other. So you are former mentees, but also this year you have come back as mentors for EMPath 2020. So I would love to hear your comprehensive perspective on EMPath from the time when you yourself were interns and now as you are mentors. So to get that ball rolling, I was wondering if you would, share like what your thoughts on what it was like when you first joined, and then the changes that you have seen EMPath go through. What do you think has been done well? What do you think you wish we had retained that, or or any other thoughts really?
Well, one way that's really changed for me is when I was an intern at Affectiva, it was very small, like the internship program in particular. So there was, I think, 3 my year. And now there's like 3 or 4 per team with larger teams all over the place. So it's amazing to see how it's grown and to see Affectiva devoting so much effort into its internship program and into cultivating younger interns.
Yeah, I guess on my side, it was a very interesting experience. Before joining Affectiva as an intern, I used to work for bigger sized companies, and most of the time the focus was more on the let's have fun part of the internship, and I felt like there was a little bit of detachment on the mentorship side just because it's overwhelming and buzzing. And with Affectiva, I had 2 mentors dedicated to help me learn and grow on the technical and on the career side, and just like to understand what I want to do and how I want to grow further, and just understanding how this process works and how to work towards your development was very inspiring. And then when I came back as a full-time, I also had the opportunity to host 2 interns as part of Affectiva's internship program. And it was just a process of seeing how much I've grown as an intern and how can I be of help for other potential amazing engineers who also ended up joining Affectiva. So, I mean, it's an infinite loop of giving back.
Nicely put.
Yeah, I would say it's just like similar. Probably the prominent thing is when I was interning, it was on site. I got to meet my cohort. We were having fun working together. We were playing cricket. We were going to lunch together. But this time everything is virtual. And I was actually surprised that even though the program was virtual, it was so well organized, and this positive and supportive vibe that I felt when I was interning on spot, that was still here. I felt like I thought I was having fun, and I hope my teams were having fun too. Yeah, it was still at the time, I would say that was the whole thing it was virtual. However, I felt, at least from my perspective, the organized part of it was still in both cases.
Great. So now I'm going to ask you about some stories. So Alex, we have shared with this team a few times as to how you came to be my intern, because basically you kept writing to Rana and she wanted me to either hire you or get rid of you. And, long story short, not only did we hire you, we keep bringing you back every year in one way or another. But from your side, would you talk about what was like, you were a high school student, and okay, maybe the first time you wrote to Rana, that was once, but you actually kept writing to her, and then, once she passed you over to me, you kept engaging. Would you share, like, what was the impetus? What was the drive?
It seemed like an interesting opportunity, and no one ever directly told me no or gave me a reason that I couldn't do it. So I was just going to keep on engaging until I got one of those responses. And I remember, I think Mo interviewed me, or who was it?
I think Ashutosh.
Ashutosh, you're right. That was I think one of my first, definitely my first technical interview. So I was very panicked for that. I don't know, what was the impetus? There are very few places that you can do academic research and still be in the private sector. And the private sector affords a whole bunch of freedoms that academia does not. So Affectiva is one of the few places that can do that. And it was just a really good opportunity, and you guys were supportive of it. You never said, no, you're too young, which is what a lot of people were saying at the time.
Thank you, Alex. I have always wondered, like, I don't know if at your age, after the first time somebody didn't respond to me, if I would keep pressing. But the message from that is, till people say no, keep writing to them, right?
I was going to keep on emailing until someone said, we're not interested in interns or something.
So Samiha, I was wondering, if you would share a little bit about when you joined Affectiva. I know that, prior to that, you had probably had internships, and then since then you have had internships, but we kind of sprung something interesting on you. You showed up and I said, well, welcome, this is great. But besides being, my intern, I also need you to become a peer mentor to a high schooler who is Kavya, and who most of the students here know because she has been a formidable organizer for this program. So would you share a little bit about what that looked like?
Yeah, so when I joined, I remember Nirat and I had another mentee with like we were like mentoring, like co-mentor, sub-mentor type. And it was interesting because we were working with a high schooler, and they might just be looking at the field right now. And they have so many opportunities to explore. And it was, I think what stuck to me in the end is the point of interest that the young people have, and they were like fearless. So for example, Kavya would be, oh, I want to work with GSR sensors, and we want to see the skill galvanic sensor, so we'll do this and that. And in my mind I was like, oh my god, that sounds so scary. How is this little girl not being scared of anything, and she's just going to explore anything she wants? How is she build model for the first time? And actually I learned from her a lot too, that you have to be sometimes fearless to explore something, and that's how you see something interesting. And I hope, like, from my work of ACI direction of AI, she learned from that too, and she seems very excited about the paper that we are submitting multiple times, because whenever we would see some review, she would be excited that we can actually address that, and she would encourage us, like, I will try to edit that with you. So I think it was both teaching her about the ACI and my expertise, showing her what I know, and also learning from her the excitement that we have to bring to any research or any project that we want to work on.
Thank you, Samiha. It's definitely mentoring people. It's definitely a two-way street. It's never just the mentor teaching the mentee. It's always both ways. I mean, I certainly know that from all three of you, I have learned both technical skills as well as professional skills. And on that, I'm going to put Radwa a little bit on the spot. So Radwa was my first virtual actually my second virtual mentee. Islam was my first. One of the feedback that she gave me or actually she didn't tell me directly, but she told our co-mentor, who then told me, was, those of you that know me, I'm very excitable. And so like she said, you know, she fires on all cylinders all the time. And it's overwhelming after we're done talking that she has like so many ideas and I don't know which direction to go, right? And you know, she shared it with my colleague Ez, who then shared it with me, and I was kind of surprised because it kind of shook a little bit of my self-image as a mentor. And I was like, what? I'm like this very, you know, energetic person, and you know, but I also saw that, you know, that wasn't working for her. So we worked together. I said, okay, I hear you, and you know, maybe I will try to linearize my thoughts. And Radva, I think that bit of feedback was really helpful to me in how I have since then mentored others, that I may still go off on rants on 8 different ideas, but then I will follow it up with, you know, a list of ideas that are somewhat more linear. But what I want to ask you about is, you know, it took some inner resilience, but it also took some trust in the system, in Affectiva, in those of us that you had only recently met, to be able to, I mean, from my perspective, that's what I feel, that to come back and give very candid feedback on your mentor, right? You know, would you talk a little bit about, you know, what gave you that confidence, that boldness to be able to advocate for what you needed? Radwa, you're muted.
First of all, I just advanced that 5 steps up in my assassination list. I'm just, I didn't know he said that. So, okay, I'm very sorry if it came as if I was trying to shake anything. I think it just, I'm a person who learns by doing, and I learned a lot by doing in Affectiva, right? It was, I think, the first company I worked at in Egypt, and it was a completely different setting, a small cohesive family where everyone knows everyone, and there is a lot of hard work being put by each member of the team into making the technology work, and everyone is so invested in the project, and everyone is so invested in making things happen, right? And I never said that, but during my interviews, I clearly remember that I knew I wasn't going to accept me, and I had a lot of fun during our interviews. So I was going into this internship with the mentality that I know Tanya has my back. So I just, this was the start of how the internship, like this was my perceiving of how this internship looked like. And then I think because I'm also a very fiery person who likes to brainstorm so many ideas, I think it just, we were more of in resonance, and maybe this is what scared me, but I feel I learned by doing. I am always also a very outspoken person, so maybe this is why I had the confidence at that time to just say it. And also because I really appreciate it when people give me feedback, and this is what I was asking you guys, like, give me the feedback that I need to make sure I work better the next time. And I mean, without that, I couldn't have come back to Affectiva, and I certainly learned a lot from that experience before coming back and trying to learn more from all the people I were working with. So.
Yeah, what really stood out for me from that incident was that you advocated for yourself. You asked for what you needed. And, you know, that, again, that is not something that many of us have, you know, are certainly not taught to do very directly, and don't feel like we have the confidence to do when, you know, we are kind of new in a place and somewhat young and inexperienced. How would you share your 2 tips, or you know, whatever, 3 tips with those listening, because they are all at the stage where you were, how to advocate for yourself?
Yeah, I guess first of all, I just always tell myself to be present in the moment and to show up to whatever I'm doing. And once I have this, and once I know that I'm doing my best, I try to understand what are some of the things that could make this process more streamlined and more efficient, and to make my outcome and my impact even bigger. And if I feel like there is something that might be a catalyst to this process, I don't know, maybe I learned it from my mentors and from my family. And I feel like it's also partly because the environment was very welcoming. But yeah, the fact that if you want something, just go for it, and don't be rude about it, but also don't be scared to voice how you feel and make sure you're heard. And if you can't find the platform in which you're heard, or where you can voice your opinion, try to create that platform yourself, and I promise you won't regret it. So show up and voice your concerns.
Good advice. So since you have all been interns, especially Alex and Radwa, you have, your educational and career trajectory has grown and changed. So Alex, would you talk a little bit about, how did that first internship that you did at Affectiva, has it had an impact in your educational journey? And if so, how?
Sure. I mean, just baseline, I learned a lot at Affectiva, being put in an environment in which the question is not how do you do this P set, for instance, it's is this question possible? It's a whole different way of thinking about problems, and it's an interesting one. Makes you think harder and makes you come up with, in my mind, more interesting solutions. Career-wise, it also, it helped me a lot because it was an internship at a young age for me. So the future jobs, my application stuck out. It's a great job. So it really helped when I applied to future things. And again, it helped both in academia, helping me tackle questions that hadn't been tackled before, and also on the business side, telling me how to work with a team, teaching me how to work in a private industry environment, which is not something that is easily learned in school.
Thank you, Alex. And Radwa, you have had quite the journey from the time that you were an intern, so many different changes, changing your country from where you used to live to where you live now. Tell us a little bit about it.
I guess one initial thing that struck me when I first joined Affectiva is that it feels completely different when you're working for an impact rather than just like working for the job and the profit. And don't get me wrong, like working on ads or knowledge graph is fun to get to see how data is working around the world, but working where you can see how people express themselves differently, how emotions play a big role in every single part of our daily interactions, and how, for example, with the data team, just understanding how bias is inherent in our human understanding and in machine learning models, just give me a bigger perspective of how problems can be seen in life. And it actually pushed me a lot, like to go from Affectiva to apply for programs where social innovation is emphasized through technology and where design thinking and being user-centric is the bigger part. I think the second part of it is seeing, honestly, like I just have to say this, like both you, Aiz, and of course Rana were always there for me. And when I was applying for my master's, all three of you gave me such amazing recommendation letters. They pushed me to apply. Whenever I asked you guys for help, for pajama talks or anything that is fun, you were always there. And just seeing how successful people are willing to have your back and support you is very enabling and exciting. And it pushes you to give more and to be more vigilant towards fighting for social impact within technology. So, I mean, it's just pushed me to be part of Knight Hennessy and to apply and to have faith in myself. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Radwa. Samiha, so now I'm gonna change the question a little bit for you. now you were a third year PhD student when you joined, and it's been a year since, and I know that you are starting to move towards your thesis, though I know as a former grad student, you're never supposed to say that. It's not done till it's done. But as you're starting to look into, what's next, share with us some of your thoughts, and also if you think that the experience that you had at Affectiva as a mentee and now as a mentor, has it impacted your next step in your career?
Yes, definitely. I would say after interning at Affectiva, it actually gave me a broader view of where the AI field is going and where the focus should be. So AI is trying to make better technology for people, but that means we have to take into consideration that people are emotional, and including emotion into technology is a way to make it better for people. So even when I was working with Affectiva and after the consecutive projects that I have done, that was also a big part of my project, was how to make the emotion AI systems, how to make the systems more emotion aware. And it actually made a broader outlook that, oh, no, we don't have to think small. We can think big, even though the emotion analysis field is just exploring. That's where we want to be, and we can shoot towards that point. Yeah, so it broadened my outlook and goal. So it was very enriching.
Do you think that so I'm really excited to hear about how it has broadened your outlook. What would you say would be the advice that you have for our EMPath 2020 trainees on how to continue this sort of, they've had hopefully had their imaginations kind of exploded both through the work that they have done, but the work that they have seen their fellow trainees do. So how do you maintain that excitement? Because, when you're in something, it is easy to be excited, but then especially now when we're not, physically connected with each other and we're starting to, it's all virtual. And I worry that when we are out of our wonderful bubble of innovation and growth, it's easy to lose that. So what can our trainees do to continue to maintain this excitement and enthusiasm?
Yeah, that's actually a very good point about how to continue the excitement that you have gone right now. So one thing is always, I never forgot how I felt during the internship. So at the point they say that people will forget what you did. They will never forget how you made them feel. And I hope the experience that they have gotten at Affectiva and at EMPath, being an EMPath intern, they will retain the creative juice that they have gotten, that you can think big and you can explore stuff even though you don't know anything, just can hit it and go ahead. And to continue doing that, so if you have the spirit that actually led me to continue doing the work, keeping in touch. But also another thing is like how to be in touch with these resources. I think Affectiva provided excellent resources throughout the whole EMPath 2020 program. And that can be a good start there. But also, I think I myself explored Affectiva's current, they have their on their website. They will update what they're working on. Their Twitter, they will update what they're doing next, and also other emotion AI technologies that they are working on. Just following them, keeping up with the trend, knowing where the field is going, and trying to keep up with it. That's actually very helpful. The more you stay in touch with the creative people, positive people, the more you will be on track where you want to go. So I would suggest to follow these people, stalk, not just stalk, just follow what the people are doing. I always check what Affectiva is working on and the other emotion companies are working on. So that actually really helps. You want to encircle yourself with positive and creative people.
Well, I see that our judges are back, and I know you guys are eager to hear from them and then hear the announcement. So on this lovely note of staying connected, thinking big, and dreaming even bigger, I will turn the floor over to the judges to share some of their thoughts, having watched all of you in action. So Brian, do you want to start it off?
Looking for the unmute. Is there any particular direction we want to start with, and which team we want to start going around, Tanya?
Nope, you are welcome to just use your choice in this.
So, I'll start with Inside Out, and huge market in telehealth, accelerated by COVID-19, a market that is underdeveloped and needs innovation, would be my short thoughts there. In terms of the vehicle application, I liked how you're thinking about understanding the needs for preempting emotion, doing something in advance, the fact that it needs to be personalized, responses need to be different by individuals. I thought that was an excellent foresight thought. In terms of the video conferencing application, I would love any feedback from all of you right now. From speaking in front of audiences of dozens and hundreds to a bunch of little faces on the screen, it is definitely one of the biggest things I'm struggling with right now. And do they hear it? Do they get it? You just don't get. So I very much see that as a need, and again, very timely. In terms of the mirror, on the other hand, what a concept for self-reflection. The form fit factor of that is excellent. We all have a mental model of mirror on the wall. And telehealth applications and emotional support through that kind of mechanism is really quite innovative and thoughtful.
Thank you, Brian. Keith, would you like to share your thoughts?
Sure. First, just thank you so much for inviting me to be a judge. I'm incredibly humbled. I'm trying to reflect back on at my age, when I was your age, for the participants, and I don't think I was quite doing this or at this level, but nonetheless, I'm incredibly humbled at just the thinking, the diversity, the divisions, and to culminate my week on this note, just to be part of and watch the future, right? Share their thoughts. I find it a fantastic way to wrap up the week. And Rana, again, thank you for the invitation. So from my side, I'll just give a couple of general comments. I really think that the categories that the team chose to focus on for their projects are either being disrupted or they're being born in a completely different way, whether it be the automotive and the experience inside the car, for safety and for infotainment, for mental health and telehealth, and how massive this is changing, how regulation is making it easier for doctors to expand the definition of a practice and then make care more accessible for everyone to have high quality care, right? And then for doctors to cross borders and provide care. And in terms of video conferencing, we spend so much time given where we are with the pandemic, but also it's just a way to be more efficient and just everything that the teams are working on. So overall, I was just blown away by the quality. And if I had to share any thoughts, I love that these teams and all of you are pursuing this with sincerity. It's so clear that you're genuinely passionate about the problems you're solving for. And I love the camaraderie, how you surrounded yourselves with people who believe in the problem that you're solving for, because that allows for you to have multiple perspectives. And then it's not about the big company eating the small or the big eating the small. It's about how can you move fast and iterate and learn, seeking this truth because you're sincere and passionate, and allow you to really touch and create value. So very, very fantastic presentations that I saw today. And thank you so much for sharing.
And I'd love to echo on your comment there that you started with, Keith, is that, I couldn't imagine doing this when I was 20. The amount of thought in here is incredible.
So first of all, thank you all. This was an incredibly inspiring and exciting afternoon. It was very refreshing just in terms of the originality of some of the ideas, I echo Keith's perspective on the camaraderie. You're coming with an abundance mentality. I hope you don't lose that as you move forward, because there's so much opportunity in the ideas that were put forward. I've given in my feedback forms that you'll get my specific comments and feedback, so I won't go into that. I want to encourage you, you've compressed in a few weeks what sometimes takes years in terms of discovery processes, in terms of research, market insights, coming up with a business plan. So you should feel really proud, every single one of you. And to us, this was a tough deliberation, what we just had, and we could have sliced it in a whole bunch of ways. So I hope you don't take away from this. If you are number one, enjoy it, celebrate it. But you're all, in a sense, each one of you, every team that we saw had something tremendous and remarkable that we talked about and that made the discussion tough. And so really take that in. And often, it's interesting, there are all these studies about the number twos in competitions or number threes that often they end up, sometimes they'll outperform the number ones. So just to say that this is just a moment in time in a particular way we've sliced it, but each of you was just mind-blowing. And I want to also extend an invitation to you. You've been on the localized platform over the course of this summer. I hope you'll continue to feel at home there. You're not going to be taken off. So all of the employers and experts and content that we have on an ongoing basis, it's a little quiet over the summer, but during the year it actually ramps up pretty exponentially. We hope you'll be there. Right now you're taking in, but hopefully you will be the experts that will be sharing your insights and inspiring other people over time. So please do keep in touch. And if you have feedback about your experience, I'll be talking to Tanya and Ashleen and Rana about collecting that so that we can be better. But I just, as someone who's been in your shoes in terms of pitching, I'm so impressed by what you've done, and also so impressed with the Affectiva team for making this opportunity available. So really congratulations to everybody.
Thank you, Ronit. Thank you, Keith and Brian. I'm sure the advice you gave and the encouragement and inspiration and just your presence from your very busy lives is an encouragement to all of the EMPath interns and certainly to us at Affectiva to continue to do this kind of work. And now it is my absolute pleasure to welcome Rana El-Khalioui, co-founder and CEO of Affectiva and a great champion of EMPath, who has been part of this journey from the very beginning, to share her perspective on EMPath, the past, the present, the future, and of course to announce the winners of the Makeathon. So welcome, Rana.
Hi, everybody. What a day it's been. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. I did want to start by thanking our judges. Keith, you're one of our investors. We all wouldn't be here today without your support and your belief in Affectiva's mission and Affectiva's team as well. Brian, it's been an amazing collaboration. Brian, as we mentioned, is a research scientist at MIT. He's the head of the Advanced Vehicle Technology Consortium. We work very closely together. He's been an advisor for the company over the last few years as we embarked on this journey of exploring the automotive industry, and it's been wonderful having you be part of this journey. And Ronit, you're a fellow IGL at the World Economic Forum. We've gotten to kind of really collaborate really as a side effect of this pandemic. And as the CEO of Localize, we're just so fortunate that, we've been able to leverage that amazing platform for our team. And I just look forward to doing a lot more together. I think there's a lot more we could explore here. I know everyone wants to know who the winners are, but before we do that, I just wanted to provide a little bit of context and kind of the backstory on how this all transpired. As you know, at Affectiva, we are on a mission to humanize technology, and specifically by bringing emotional intelligence into our devices and our platforms. So really, we think of it as a marriage between IQ and EQ. And we fundamentally believe that that's going to transform human-machine interfaces. I mean, you've seen incredible ideas along these lines, but more fundamentally, it's going to transform human-to-human connections. And I think our mission has never been more important, honestly, with this pandemic. And what the new normal looks like. We are collaborating online, we're pitching online, we're learning online. And I think you've seen these potential huge opportunities, business opportunities, and also human impact opportunities that can come out of this technology. One of the core values of Affectiva is our commitment to diversity and inclusion. We think of it from many different perspectives. It's not just gender diversity or ethnicity, but it's also different backgrounds and experiences, and especially age as well, age diversity. And we feel very passionate that including youth voices into what we do is just going to ensure that we have a better future with human-centric AI. And I think, you know, we're committed to helping train the next generation of AI leaders. And I was just totally blown away with this cohort we have today. I mean, I've always been blown away by our EMPath trainees and interns, but especially today, it just really highlighted for me how important it is to bring these youth voices into the conversation and empower young people like you all to play a part in what this looks like. And I feel hopeful, actually. I you know, after seeing all these presentations over the course of today, I feel like we're in good hands with the future. So we've had kind of a super robust competitive in-person internship program over the past 4 or so years, spearheaded by our awesome Dr. Tanya Mishra. I just wanted to highlight, and it all started with Alex Reichenbach. I gave a presentation at the Phillips Andover School. He was in the audience. I ended the presentation like I always do, and I said, oh, email me if you have any ideas or questions. And Alex took that to heart. He emailed asking if we had any internships. He was a rising junior at the time, and we had never had any high school interns. So I ignored the email. He emailed again. I ignored him again. But he persisted, and I eventually passed him on to Tanya. And I was like, Tanya, just deal with this. So Tanya took a risk and brought him on as our first high school intern. And he was just incredible, as you've heard from him. He is currently at Yale and has gone on to do amazing things. So we're so grateful that you are our guinea pig, Alex, because you showed that this is very, very doable. Radwa Hamid, I know we've highlighted you a few times already, but Radwa was one of our first interns as well. She's a fellow alum from the American University in Cairo. She joined as an intern, then we hired her full-time, and now she's at Stanford. She's a Knight Hennessy Scholar, a very prestigious and highly competitive award. And I'm so glad she's back this year as a mentor for the program. Many, many others, Isabel and Lindsay, who are now with Affectiva, and many, many more. I'm just like so proud of you. And I feel like we have this cohort of interns that are supporting each other and paying it forward as well. So at the beginning of this pandemic, we were still kind of on track to do our in-person, training internship program. We have about usually 15 or so slots. We got 600 applications. Isn't that crazy? 600 applications for 15 spots. And then the pandemic hit, and we realized an in-person internship program is not going to be feasible. So we emailed everybody and we canceled the program. And a few of us at Affectiva sat on it, heartbroken, disappointed. And within a couple of weeks, we rallied and hustled and applied our creative thinking and big thinking brains and pivoted to a virtual training program, 5-week training program. The first half of it is split into self-paced learning and connecting with mentors. The second half was the Makeathon, culminating with this event today. We were able to draw on a very, very, very diverse cohort of trainees, and we were very thoughtful about it. The diversity you saw today was not by accident, but it does show that diverse skills are out there. You just have to prioritize that. So we have 53 students across all over the US, including Puerto Rico, students from India, Egypt, Canada, and I have seen many of them present, and I've interacted with them over the past 5 weeks. And I just want to say thank you. You have inspired me. I've learned so much from you, and you have all blown my mind away with your grit and your willingness to learn. We also have 18 external mentors, graduate students, PhD students, prior EMPath interns. We could not have done this without your leadership. You are such role models for these up and coming trainees and for all of us really at Affectiva. So thank you for being part of this program. These trainees and mentors have interacted with each other across time zones, across borders, love the collaboration, and it just, again, shows what you can do even in a virtual environment. Now, I also want to thank the Affectiva team. A lot of people helped with this program at Affectiva. We had office hours, 20 or so Affectiva mentors that really were hands-on with these teams and helped them implement all of the ideas you saw today. But two people in particular I want to highlight, without which this program would not have happened. Tanya, thank you for your incredible vision and passion for making this happen. I remember we were at one random Affectiva outing and you and I sat on a bench and we were just chatting and I was like, Tanya, this really is your calling here. So I think the true secret sauce is you. You believe in these kids and that's why they're able to do what they do. So thank you. And then Ashleen, it's her birthday today. Thank you, Ashleen. You are the best planner and organizer in the world. Thank you for teaming up with Tanya and executing the vision for this program. And you do it all with like an incredible smile all the time. So thank you. These two have spent hours and hours, night and day, weekends over the last couple of months putting all of this together. So thank you. So now we're kind of in an interesting dilemma because we love the virtual program so much. And I think the breadth of like our ability to draw on this diverse audience and cohort of trainees is kind of making us think about what we want to do with this moving forward. I don't think this setup is going to go away. We already have all sorts of ideas on how to grow it for next year and welcome any ideas you have. But it's already been super wonderful. So again, I loved all of the presentations I saw. I didn't see every single one of them yet. I plan to watch all of the presentations, but the ones I've seen blew my mind away. And as Ronit said, there's legs to all of these ideas, and I hope you kind of think about how to take them forward. For now, I will announce our top 3 winners. So for ready, drum roll. We need a drum roll effect in Zoom. All right. In 3rd place, a prize of $1,000 is Inside Out, Hadil Mabruk, Gia Ramos, and Wang Li. Congratulations, everybody.
Thank you, Rana. Thank you, everyone. This was an amazing opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. In 2nd place, for a prize money of $1,600, the EMPath Titans, Jalissa, Mikey, Roshan, and Adar. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job, team. And in 1st place for a prize money of $2,000 are the Innators with their magic mirror, Olivia, Sagar, Aishwarya, and Catherine. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Great job. Thank you, everybody. So I can tell you we are already thinking about the Virtual Emotion AI Summit experience in October, and we would love to involve, we usually do a panel with our EMPath participants, and I'm sure we'll come up with creative ideas on how to showcase all of your work. But for now, I just wanted to thank you for an incredible 5 weeks and great ideas, and we all leave tonight inspired by all your work. So thank you. Tanya, I will turn it back to you to close.
Well, Thank you, Rana, for sharing your thoughts and announcing the winners. My face really hurts from smiling, and I think I also feel a little bit like crying. Good thing I work for an emotion company, right? But oh my gosh, what a day this has been. Congratulations to the winners of the Makeathon and to each of you for your fantastic work over these last 5 weeks. All of you, I want you to hear that we are so proud of your growth, your innovation, and your teamwork across continents, literally, virtually, through storms, through bad Wi-Fi connections, through having to work with people that you never met before. It has truly been amazing, and I think each of us that have had the opportunity to work with you have learned from you. So we will be sending you my computer tells me I'm going on too long, so very quickly we will send you the judges' feedback and the certificates of completion over email, and we will also share with you the date of our virtual EMPath reunion sometime in September. So stay tuned. We are not letting you go so easily. I want to once again thank the judges for their time, Rana for coming out of vacation to just spend the day with us. Please thank your kids for letting us have their mom for the entire day during vacation.
More fun than vacation anyways.
And I want to thank our internal and external mentors for your time, your effort, and the energy that each of you have put towards this program. And I want to thank Ashleen Sullivan, Kavya Anbarasu, Alex Turk, and Nadia Zwader, my co-conspirators, without whom I could not have done all of this. To everyone involved with EMPath, be well and have a great weekend and enjoy the day that we have had together.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Stay well.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
bye.